Hey, welcome to the Resolve Podcast, episode number 43. I'm Carly Tizano, a New Year's resolution coach obsessed with all things goal setting, personal development, coaching, and of course, resolutions. One of my biggest goals is to help you reach yours. I'm here to provide the tools, support, and inspiration you need to reach your goals this year and every year, and to feel supported every day along the way. So 2 weeks ago in our last solo show, we dove into the idea of when you should go after your goals, not just what your goals should be or why you want to go after them or how that's even possible, but when, which is a very important component. And if you took creative writing, as we all learned probably early on in our writing careers, the who, what, where, when, why, how are all important factors, and we did not want to leave when out of the equation. And we're going to be expanding off of that idea of the importance of when today. We're not going to be looking at, though, when it's important to go after our goals or when we should go after our goals. We're going to be looking at 5 times we should invest in ourselves and 5 times when we should not invest in ourselves. So let's dive right in into this topic. But before we dive too far into what the actual reasons themselves are, we should, of course, examine what investing in yourself even is. So in the coaching realm, a lot of people talk about investing in themselves through coaching. That is, of course, one way that you can spend monetary value, but it's not just about investing money in yourself. It's about investing in the time, space, capacity, resources, expertise of a coach to help better yourself and grow in some way. The idea of investing yourself is just like investing in the stock market or anything else. You are investing in some of your resources, not just monetary, but also time and effort and everything else in order to gain a greatly increased return at the other end. Just like the stock market, you don't always know exactly what that will be or exactly what it will look like, but it's almost inevitable that through doing so, you are going to create a much greater return at the other end. I know with the stock market right now, what it is, this probably isn't the best time to create that analogy, but it's the easiest and simplest way to understand it. I've mentioned on the podcast before that investing in yourself is something that always reaps infinite rewards. And it's so true because we as people are always continually learning and growing. Most of us, especially if you're listening to this podcast, are continually looking to better themselves and to encapsulate all of the things that we learn and know and experience and the skills that we gain to achieve our goals and to become the people we want to be, and for a lot of us to help other people in a variety of ways, but through that knowledge and skills and tools that we've gained. So investing in ourselves is one way that we can do that, and it can look like buying a new book to read or going to the library to get a new book to read. It can look like listening to podcasts. By doing that, you're investing your time to gain information from me and all the other podcasters that you listen to. That is a means by which you invest in yourself. Going to the gym can be a way of investing in yourself, both physically and mentally. Engaging with an accountability partner can be a means by which you invest in yourself. There are countless ways. Pretty much anything that you can think of that you do to better yourself is a means by which you can invest in yourself, but you are always expending some quantity of a resource that you have, whether it be money, be time, or something else. You're always putting one of those things into the equation as you invest in yourself. And that is part of where the benefit and the reward comes from, by demonstrating to yourself that this is something that is important to you, that you care about, and that's why you're putting time or money or something else into it. But with that as our foundation of what investing in yourself is, what it can look like, let's dive into the 5 times when you should invest in yourself and the 5 times you shouldn't. So the first time, of course, when you should invest in yourself is quite simply because you want to. The one that first comes to mind for me, or most connected to, is if there is a book that you want to read or that you want to buy, that is a very simple, easy way, a thing that you may want, and an easy way to invest in yourself. Ramit Sethi, who wrote I Will Teach You to Be Rich, which is one of my favorite money books, he talks about how if he ever wants to buy a book, he just lets himself buy it. And if you know me, I'm like the exact opposite. I have to read a book before I'm willing to buy it. And even then, it's only like the very upper echelon of the books that I like are allowed to come and live in my home. But I totally understand the idea and the mindset and the concept behind that if you want to learn something, if you want to invest in yourself, you should by all means do it. Absolutely. What this most looks like for me, and it's very simple, but if I want to know something, then I Google it. It's super simple and pretty inconsequential, and I'm sure that most of us do that if we have a question about something. But that is another way that we invest in ourselves, by putting time and effort into finding out the answers to our questions or to learning a new idea or more about a topic. When we want to, then we should absolutely invest in ourselves. The second time when you should invest in yourself is when you want to fast track your progress. We talked about why investing in yourself is so powerful, and it's because it often involves utilizing the knowledge, resources, or capabilities of someone who knows a bit more than you do probably about this topic. So like when you go to Google to find an answer to your question, you're going to Google, and more specifically the people on the other end of Google, whoever shared or posted this information, because you want to learn it more quickly than trying to figure out yourself any other way. You want to find out the conclusions of psychological study rather than going to conduct those studies yourself. You're fast tracking your progress by investing in yourself to find out the answer. Similarly, when you work with a coach, you often fast track your progress because most of the time you'll work with a coach within a niche on a specific issue that you have or goal that you want to reach or problem you want to solve. And that coach is someone who probably has gone through something similar to you, or even if they haven't, they have achieved the thing that you want to achieve. And so they know the tips and tricks and secrets and tools that you need in order to emulate their success. And so by working with them and them sharing those tools with you, you're able to get there so much faster than figuring it out on your own, having to learn those tools and figure out which even apply and which are actually going to set you way further behind. And you do that, at least with a coach, within the concept and within that space where there is encouragement and support that, of course, only speeds up your progress that much more. The third time when you should invest in yourself is when you want to demonstrate your belief in yourself to yourself, especially if you work with a coach or anytime you spend money, even if it's on a book. You are expressing a belief in that resource. That book is going to help you gain the information that you want, or that it's going to be an interesting novel, or it can be, I'm going to work with this coach because I think they can help, but more fundamentally, it's because you think that they can help you to achieve the thing that you want to, because that is possible for you. And that's a transformational thing for a lot of us to realize, that when we are investing in ourselves, we are believing that the outcome that we are looking for, the growth that we want to see happen, the knowledge that we want to gain, that is possible for us. And we are demonstrating that by investing some of our resources in this means by which we think we will achieve that end that we want. And so that is such a powerful reason to invest in yourself, is to demonstrate your belief in yourself to yourself. And so if that is the reason why you want to invest in a particular resource, then I encourage you to do it, because demonstrating that belief, believing that thing is possible for you through investing in yourself in whatever means it may be, is going to be so incredibly powerful in helping you achieve that thing that you want. Because if we don't believe that what we want is possible for us, then any investment we make is really not ultimately going to be all that helpful. It's kind of like transferring all of your money into an investment account and then not like making any investment purchases with that money. If the money is just sitting in your account but not actually invested, then it's not going to be that helpful. And if we don't believe in ourselves at all, or the stock market, we may not put any money in that account, and our money is just going to stay exactly as it is in our account until we, of course, start spending it and it starts going down, which is not the direction most of us want our money to go. So we have to demonstrate a belief in ourselves, in our capacity, in our ability to achieve the things that we want. And investing in ourselves through other external resources is one of the ways by which we can do that. The fourth time when we should invest in ourselves is when we found an opportunity that feels aligned. I think it's partly because alignment is my word of the year, but I also want to leave the room for the belief that it also isn't. It's, of course, a word that I use a lot now because it is my word of the year and it's on my mind a lot, but that doesn't negate or take away from its importance or value to this conversation or any conversation, because it's true. If you have found an opportunity that feels particularly aligned for you, that it's taking place when you want it to, or with a teacher that you really admire, it's going to be covering topics or information that you think is going to be particularly valuable for you, then that is an opportunity that feels aligned, and you should invest in yourself and take advantage of that opportunity. That has happened for me with a lot of courses or coaching programs or other things that I've been involved in. It normally occurs because I found an opportunity that has occurred in a time when I am ready to take myself to the next level, and it's with a teacher who is conveying information that I find valuable and I find them informative, or they have some position or knowledge that I would like to gain or learn from or emulate. And it's a result of that I am willing to invest in myself, because it is all come into alignment in that moment for me to sign up for that program or whatever it may be. Okay, and the last time when you should invest in yourself, this one I put last because it kind of rests on all of these others. It's when you have the resources to do so. So there are times in your life when listening to free podcasts might be the extent to which you can invest in yourself, or doing body weight exercises on the floor of your living room, or going for a run down the street. And there may be a season or a time in your life when paying for a $10 gym membership is more like it, or maybe you can start buying audiobooks that you want to listen to, or engage in a group coaching program. Maybe that is the level where the resources that you have are going to allow you to invest in yourself. Then there may be a time when you can pay for an expensive fancy gym membership or work with a personal trainer. There may be a time when you can buy not just books, but online courses about topics that you want to learn, or pay to take classes about topics that fascinate you. Or you could pay to work with a coach to help you one-on-one, or some like elite mastermind kind of situation. So the extent to which you can invest in yourself is, of course, dependent on the resources that you have to expend, whether that be time or money or something else. We talked a little bit about capacity last week. So the capacity and effort that we can put into something is occasionally dictated by all of the other things going on in our lives. So those, of course, play a role as well. So we don't want to expend resources beyond what we have or beyond what's reasonable to us, even if we want to fast track our progress or demonstrate our belief in ourselves. But I believe we can do all of those things in proportion with whatever resources we have at a given moment. So we can invest in ourselves, whatever level we're at, to achieve those ends or anything else. And that's so exciting. And we just do it within the bounds of whatever resources we have available to us at a given moment. If there is a time, though, when you have an abundance of resources, and then that may be an opportunity for you, a gateway for you to begin to look for opportunities to invest in yourself. Maybe not just waiting for ones that may come up or that you hear about from a friend, or that book recommendation that you saw on Instagram. Maybe that's a time, if you have an abundance of resources, when you begin to go out and look for opportunities for self-investment and self-growth. So those are the situations in which I would encourage you to invest in yourself. I encourage you to invest in yourself in pretty much all situations, but those are 5 times when you should absolutely invest in yourself. But all that to say, there are also some times when we should not invest in ourselves, or at least times when we need to be a bit more aware of what our reasonings are, our logic and support for making an investment decision. It makes me think of kind of all of the stock tips that are constantly going around on like Instagram or TikTok. Like, that's all well and good, but you probably want to do a bit more research. You may have a great opportunity in front of you, but you want to take these 5 times when not to invest in yourself into account, and the 5 times when you should invest in yourself. So all that to say, the first time you should not invest in yourself is just because someone is selling you something. We live in a very salesy world. Let's be real. You pretty much can't do anything, go anywhere without being sold something. And a lot of it does seem like something that's going to make your life easier or better or smoother, or make you look better or work faster or more efficiently. So there's going to be constant opportunities for you to invest in yourself in a myriad of ways. Like just looking at your favorite podcasting app, there is an unbelievable amount of content on pretty much every topic imaginable. But just because it's out there does not mean that you should take it and use it to invest in yourself. There are lots of podcasts that I have listened to and learned from in the past, and I just decided I no longer want to learn more about this topic, or this teacher is going in a direction that I'm not particularly fond of. So just because something is out there, or just because someone is selling you something, whether it be a book or a 5-figure coaching package, just because someone's selling you something does not mean you should use it to invest in yourself. Another reason not to invest in yourself is just because everyone else is. I work, of course, in the coaching space, so it seems like everyone is a coach, everyone is investing in coaching, everyone's working with a coach. But just because everyone around you may be working with a coach does not mean that you have to. Just because everyone loves to read books or nonfiction books does not mean that you have to. Just because other people listen to podcasts, you don't have to, but since you're listening to this one, I assume that you do. So just because other people are taking advantage of an opportunity that has been presented to them does not mean that you have to follow suit as well. The third time when you do not need to invest in yourself, or should not, is because you feel like you need to do something. Of course, we do need to eat and sleep and have loving relationships and a roof over our head. So those are times when we should be investing in ourselves, quote unquote. But I don't think of it as investing in ourselves in quite the same way when we provide those necessities for ourselves. But just because you feel like pressure to do something, just because you feel that there is an external need to be involved or engaged with something, is not a compelling reason to invest in yourself, unless it also meets some of those boxes of when you should invest in yourself, like something that you really do want to do genuinely. The fourth time when you should not invest in yourself is because you have something to prove. this is such a big one because while investing in ourselves is a positive because it can demonstrate our belief in ourselves to ourselves, we don't want to do it because we have something to prove to ourselves or anyone else. That's not the healthiest foundation to take any action from whatsoever. And it's not going to be a fuel to get you to take the action that you want to take as a result. The fifth time when we do not want to invest in ourselves is because we want to skip the hard part. I know that I said investing in yourself can allow you to fast track your progress, and it absolutely can, but it doesn't allow you to skip the hard part. You're still going to have to put in whatever additional time, resources, effort might be necessary to make the changes that you want to see or achieve the goals that you want to or make the progress that you want to see. So you can get there much more quickly when you do invest in yourself, but that does not mean that the hard part is not going to exist. Even if you think about the fast pass lanes at Disneyland or Disney World, which they've kind of reevaluated that system recently. But even if you purchase now a fast pass, or before if you would pick up your fast pass and you showed up at the right time, you still are going to end up waiting in some kind of line, most likely, and you're still having to like walk down these long paths, trying to get to the front of the ride, past all the other people that are waiting in the really long line. So there is still an amount of growth and effort and waiting and pushing and learning and growing and the growth pains that come with any kind of growth, any kind of self-investment. So don't think you're going to skip that part just because you're investing in yourself, but acknowledge that that's still going to be a part of it, and it's still worth investing in yourself anyway. Thank you for sitting with me through that overview of when you should and should not invest in yourself. So today I encourage you to resolve to consider what investment you need to make in yourself next. It may be going to the library to pick up a book. It may be dropping to the floor and doing a push-up right now. It may be making a plan to actually get in bed tonight on time. It may be registering to go back to school. It may be signing up to work with a coach. It may be sending a text to your accountability partner. There is a myriad of ways in which and by which you can invest in yourself, only limited to what you want and your imagination, really. So I encourage you to invest in yourself, at least in line with these times when you should, and to probably not, or at least question yourself a bit further if you find yourself leaning towards any of those times when you probably should not invest in yourself. But regardless, investing in ourselves is such an important tool. It's what all of this work that I do is all about, helping people to invest in themselves, to do the things they want to do, keep the resolutions that they want to, and become the people that they want to be. Investing in ourselves is how we do that. And so I encourage you to figure out whatever that next self-investment is going to be. Speaking of self-investment, reading is one of the things that I do for myself as a major self-investment that I'm continually doing and working on. And so this week I'm reading To Risk It All, 9 Conflicts in the Crucible of Decision by Admiral James Stavridis of the U.S. Navy. He's retired now, but was an admiral, so clearly has, I'm sure, a lot to say about conflicts and decision-making and the interaction of those two components. But this is one of the ways I continually invest in myself, is by learning from people who know much more than I do in areas that I have little to no knowledge of, and who have much greater life experience than I do. And then I'm able to take those knowledge and resources, apply them to my own life, share them with my clients, share them with you on this podcast. So I'm just getting into this book now. I don't have too much to say about it yet, but of course, I'm excited to learn everything I can from such a well-respected individual who I'm sure has a lot to say on these topics. And today I want to toast being halfway through my school year. I know I talked about it a little bit on the podcast last week with Heidi in episode 42, where we shared an update on our goals, but it is such a relief, such a good feeling to be halfway through the school year. There was a little bit of a crunch time recently when I had kind of 2 terms overlapping for 2 weeks, and it was something that I was stressing about a lot beforehand, figuring out how in the world I was going to make that work, what I was going to eat, along with everything else. But I was able to work ahead a lot before the end of one term and the start of another, so it really didn't overlap that much at all. Did not take that much extra time or effort and energy. It was one of those things where I had to remind myself to not worry ahead of time, especially when it's something that is going to turn out fine, of course, in the end, even if it does take a lot of time and effort and energy. And of course, it all turned out just fine, as it always does, or at least most of the time does. And so school is another way that I am, of course, investing in myself, another way that I love learning. And so that's another reason too why I read. But I'm so excited to be able to share about investing in yourself with you, about the ways that I am currently investing in myself, the success I'm finding, the progress I'm making in those areas. And I encourage you to go keep investing in yourself as well, even when this podcast episode ends. And with that, thanks for tuning into the Resolve Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at Carly Tisano. I would love to connect with you. Don't forget to rate and review. It really helps other people find the show. And subscribe if you haven't already so that you don't miss another great episode next week. For the show notes or additional support in reaching your goals, check out carlytizano.com. Until next time, here's to all that lies ahead.